details on the investigation into the suspicious death of Gene Hackman and his wife. Officials appearing to rule out one possible explanation for what happened at the couple's New Mexico home.
Gene Hackman has been a Hollywood legend for decades, but an unbelievable revelation is suddenly rewriting his story. This isn't just another rumor. This is first-hand insight from a close friend. If you thought you knew Gene Hackman, think again, because this will definitely change everything. Join us as we unravel what was said about Hackman after he was gone. The legend takes a bow. Gene Hackman's home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, became the center of a tragic discovery on February 26, 2025. Him, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and one of their 3 dogs were found lifeless inside their residence. Their absence had raised concerns, leading a maintenance worker to check on them. After receiving no response at the door, the worker contacted local security. Peering through a window, he saw the lifeless bodies and immediately alerted emergency services. Sheriff's deputies arrived shortly after, confirming the grim situation. Reports indicated that the last known communication with the couple had been 2 weeks before, adding to the mystery of their demise. Hackman had been seen less frequently in recent months, with friends and family noting that his health had been in decline. Once an enthusiastic cyclist, he had stopped riding a year earlier and seemed increasingly confined to his home. Inside the residence, deputies found Hackman's body in the foyer, showing signs of decomposition. Arakawa's remains were discovered in a bathroom, in a similar state. Nearby, prescription medications were scattered on the floor, including those for high blood pressure and thyroid conditions. There was also a heartbreaking scene in a bathroom closet, where their Australian Kelpie lay dead in its kennel. However, the couple's 2 other dogs were still alive, wandering the property. Investigators noted details suggesting that both Hackman and Arakawa had collapsed suddenly. The following day, the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department ruled out foul play, though they did not provide specific details regarding the time or exact cause.
Police say the deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife now appear suspicious enough to warrant a full investigation.
An investigation was done to determine the circumstances surrounding the tragedy. Fire department personnel checked for carbon monoxide leaks, but none were found. Autopsy reports revealed no external injuries, and toxicology tests ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning. Hackman's pacemaker data offered a crucial clue, showing that his heart had stopped on February 17th, indicating that their demise likely occurred around that time. The case of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa soon started to fuel speculation, drawing investigators and fans into a maze of possibilities as they search for deeper meaning in the available clues. At first glance, natural causes might seem like the simplest explanation for Hackman's passing at 95. However, the condition in which his 65-year-old wife was found complicates any straightforward answer. Could it have been a tragic accident, a sudden medical emergency, or something far more unsettling? One prevailing theory revolves around the presence of medications scattered near Betsy's body. An open prescription bottle and loose pills strewn across the countertop hint at the possibility of an overdose or the panicked reaction of someone in a medical crisis. Some theorists suggest a sudden health episode, perhaps a heart attack, stroke, or allergic reaction, prompted a desperate search for medication. Another possibility is that one of them intentionally took their life, leading the other into an emotional state that led to an irreversible tragedy. Adding further intrigue is the discovery of a monthly planner and 2 green cell phones. These seemingly strange objects raise questions about what the couple may have been organizing or keeping track of. Were they merely managing everyday commitments, or was there something more sinister at play? The existence of such items suggests there might have been aspects of their lives unknown even to those closest to them. There was no clear signs of forced entry or struggle, leaving room for another possibility. The couple may have made a conscious decision together, a pact, where one partner's actions trigger a series of events leading both to take their final steps separately. This theory has been proposed by some psychologists studying the case. The unanswered questions surrounding Hackman's final days only deepen the mystery, leaving many to wonder whether the full truth will ever come to light. The film industry reacted with shock and sorrow as news of Hackman's passing spread. Colleagues, admirers, and fellow actors shared their grief and appreciation for his extraordinary career. Clint Eastwood, a longtime friend, reflected on Hackman's unmatched talent, describing him as an actor with intensity and instinct. He recalled the honesty in Hackman's performances and expressed deep personal loss. Francis Ford Coppola spoke of Hackman's complexity as a performer, calling him inspiring and magnificent in his craft. British Academy of Film and Television Arts. President Prince William acknowledged Hackman's ability to bring characters to life with authenticity and charisma, recognizing him as a true master of cinema. Meanwhile, a long list of actors, directors, and industry figures also paid their respects. Morgan Freeman, Dustin Hoffman, Glenn Close, Tom Hanks, Viola Davis, and Bill Murray joined in commemorating Hackman's impact. Mel Brooks, Alec Baldwin, Gwyneth Paltrow, Josh Brolin, John Cusack, and Ben Stiller shared their thoughts, as did Michael Rosenbaum, James Gunn, Valerie Perrine, Nathan Lane, Antonio Banderas, Hank Azaria, George Takei, and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Many spoke of his ability to elevate every scene, his unwavering dedication to his craft, and the unique presence he brought to the screen. Critics reflected on Hackman's career, recognizing him as one of the defining figures of American cinema. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian remarked on the significance of his passing, viewing it as the closing chapter of an era known as the American New Wave. He noted Hackman's remarkable ability to command every scene without relying on traditional Hollywood looks or charm. His expressions conveyed depth and emotion that few actors could replicate. Let's take a look at Hackman's life and career, and how he became a highly esteemed figure. Discovering a lifelong passion. Eugene Allen Hackman was born on January 30, 1930, in San Bernardino, California, to Anna Lyda Elizabeth and Eugene Ezra Hackman. He had a younger brother named Richard. Their mother was originally from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. The family moved frequently before settling in Danville, Illinois, where they lived with Anna's mother, Beatrice, who was born in England. Their father worked at the local newspaper, the Commercial News, where he operated the printing press. Even as a young boy, Hackman had a fascination with acting. By the time he was 10, he had already decided that performing was what he wanted to do with his life. However, his childhood was not easy. At 13, his parents divorced, and shortly after, his father abandoned the family. This difficult experience forced Hackman to grow up quickly. During his teenage years, Hackman briefly attended Storm Lake High School in Iowa before deciding to leave home at 16. Determined to strike out on his own, he lied about his age and enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. His service lasted 4.5 years, during which he worked as a field radio operator. His military career took him to China, where he was stationed in Qingdao and later Shanghai. When the Communist Revolution swept through China in 1949, he was reassigned to military bases in Hawaii and Japan. By 1951, his time in the Marines came to an end, and he moved to New York City in search of new opportunities. In New York, Hackman worked a series of odd jobs while trying to find his path in life, until tragedy struck in 1962 when his mother passed away in a fire that she had accidentally caused while smoking. Around this time, Hackman attempted to pursue an education in journalism and television production at the University of Illinois under the GY Bill. However, he soon realized that academia was not for him, and he dropped out. His true passion had always been acting, and by 1956, he was ready to fully commit to it. Hackman enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse in California, where he met Dustin Hoffman, another aspiring actor. The two quickly became friends, though their time at the Playhouse was not encouraging. Their classmates saw them as outsiders, and both were voted least likely to succeed. Hackman even received the lowest score ever given by the institution. Determined to prove them wrong, he left California for New York City, where he believed he would have better luck breaking into the industry. Life in New York was tough. Hackman, Hoffman, and another struggling actor, Robert Duvall, became close friends, often sharing small apartments as they tried to establish their careers. To make ends meet, Hackman took whatever jobs he could find. He worked at a Howard Johnson's restaurant, which led to an encounter with one of his former instructors from the Pasadena Playhouse. The instructor recognized him and cruelly commented that his lowly job was proof that he would never succeed. Another humiliating moment came when a Marine officer he once knew saw him working as a doorman and mocked him. These harsh words only strengthened Hackman's resolve. The more people doubted him, the harder he pushed himself. He took on small acting roles wherever he could find them. He appeared in the film Mad Dog Call and landed minor roles in television series such as Tallahassee 7000, The United States Steel Hour, Route 66, Naked City, The Defenders, East Side, West Side, The DuPont Show of the Week, and Brenner. Hackman also pursued stage work, making his off-Broadway debut in 1959 with The Saintliness of Marjorie Kemp. He continued acting in theater productions, performing in Come to the Palace of Sin in 1963. That same year, he made his Broadway debut in Children from Their Games, though the play had a short run. However, in 1964, he finally found success on Broadway with Any Wednesday, where he performed alongside Sandy Dennis. This breakthrough led to more film opportunities. Hackman's first credited movie role came in Lilith, where he acted alongside Gene Seberg and Warren Beatty. He returned to Broadway in Poor Richard, which ran for over 100 performances from 1964 to 1965. Meanwhile, he continued appearing on television in shows such as The Trials of O'Brien, Hawk, and The FBI. His film career was also progressing, though slowly. He had small roles in First to Fight, A Covenant with Death, and Banning, all released in 1967. That same year, Hackman was cast as Mr. Robinson in The Graduate, directed by Mike Nichols. However, after 3 weeks of rehearsal, Nichols decided that Hackman looked too young for the role and replaced him with Murray Hamilton. Despite this setback, 1967 turned out to be a major year for Hackman. He secured the role of Buck Barrow in Bonnie and Clyde, which became a huge success. His performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, bringing him significant attention in Hollywood. Unfortunately, not all of his theater projects went well. His return to Broadway with The Natural Look ended after just one performance. Still, he remained active in off-Broadway productions, appearing in Fragments and The Basement. On television, he made guest appearances in Iron Horse and Insight. In 1968, he played the character Hunter in an episode of I Spy and starred in My Father and My Mother, part of CBS Playhouse. He also took on a role in the dystopian television movie Shadow on the Land. Hackman continued building his film career in 1969 with a variety of roles. He played a ski coach in Downhill Racer, starred as an astronaut in Marooned, and joined the cast of The Gypsy Moths, a film about a team of skydivers who performed at county fairs. During this period, Hackman also worked alongside Jim Brown in 2 action films, The Split and Riot. He was considered for the role of Mike Brady in The Brady Bunch, a television series that would go on to become a classic. However, his agent advised him against accepting the role, believing that better opportunities would come his way. While some reports suggest this story was exaggerated, it remains an interesting what-if in Hackman's career. Despite all the obstacles he faced, Hackman had proven himself as a dedicated and talented actor. By the end of the 1960s, he had established himself as a respected actor, setting the stage for an even greater. And it wasn't long before things began to shift. Rise to prominence. Gene Hackman received his second Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor with his role in I Never Sang for My Father. This recognition further affirmed his growing reputation in Hollywood. Following that, he appeared in Doctors' Wives and The Hunting Party. However, it was his portrayal of tough and relentless New York City detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection that pushed him to stardom. His performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, proving his ability to take on demanding roles with authenticity. After the success of The French Connection, Hackman became one of the busiest actors in Hollywood, taking on a number of roles over the next few years. Between 1972 and 1974, he appeared in 10 films, not counting a brief but memorable comedic role in Young Frankenstein. During this time, he played leading characters in films like Cisco Pike, Prime Cut, and The Poseidon Adventure, a disaster film that became a major box office hit. In Scarecrow, released in 1973, he starred alongside Al Pacino in a deeply personal role that he later described as his favorite. The film won the prestigious Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. Hackman also took on the lead in Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation in 1974, another critically acclaimed film that earned multiple Oscar nominations and won the Palme d'Or. That same year, he embraced comedy in Young Frankenstein, playing Harold the Blind Man in a scene that became one of the most famous in the film. Hackman also starred in Zandy's Bride and reunited with director Arthur Penn for Night Moves, a film that highlighted his ability to portray morally conflicted characters. In Bite the Bullet, he played a former Rough Rider in a Western centered around an intense long-distance horse race. That year, he returned to his Oscar-winning role as Detective Doyle in French Connection 2 in 1975. Unfortunately, Lucky Lady, in which he starred alongside Burt Reynolds and Liza Minnelli, failed to impress audiences and became a notable box office failure. Hackman remained highly active, working with director Stanley Kramer on The Domino Principle and taking part in the large ensemble cast of A Bridge Too Far. He then took on a role as an officer in the French Foreign Legion in March or Die in 1977, demonstrating his ability to shift seamlessly between different genres. His skill was displayed again when he brought the criminal mastermind Lex Luthor to life in Superman the Movie. Hackman reprised this role in Superman 2 and returned again for Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Throughout the 1980s, Hackman balanced leading roles with strong supporting performances. He played opposite Barbra Streisand in All Night Long and had a supporting role in Warren Beatty's epic Reds. He took on the lead role in Eureka and played a significant part in Under Fire. That same year, he provided the voice of God in Two of a Kind, showing his willingness to explore different parts of storytelling. He also led films such as Uncommon Valor and Misunderstood before starring in Twice in a Lifetime. Between 1985 and 1988, Hackman worked on 9 films, making him one of the most active actors during that period. One of his most beloved performances came in Hoosiers, where he portrayed a dedicated high school basketball coach. The film later earned a spot on the American Film Institute's list of greatest sports films. After Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, Hackman also provided the voice for the villain Nuclear Man, portrayed by Mark Pillow. That same year, he delivered strong performances in No Way Out, Split Decisions, Bat 21, and Full Moon in Blue Water. He also worked with Woody Allen, starring opposite Gena Rowlands in Another Woman. His role in Mississippi Burning brought further critical acclaim. Hackman's performance was highly praised, particularly for its depth and restraint. He received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, but lost to Dustin Hoffman for Rain Man. Continuing his streak, he took on a role in The Package in 1989. As the 1990s began, Hackman appeared in Loose Cannons and played a supporting character in Postcards from the Edge. He starred in Narrow Margin, a remake of a 1952 classic, before taking on two films in 1991, Class Action and Company Business. That year, he also played Sheriff Little Bill Daggett in Unforgiven. His performance earned him his second Academy Award, this time for Best Supporting Actor. The film also won Best Picture, marking a major moment in Hackman's career. Hackman briefly returned to Broadway in 1992, starring alongside Glenn Close and Richard Dreyfuss in Death and the Maiden at the Brooks Atkinson Theater. His film career remained strong with Geronimo, An American Legend, in which he played Brigadier General George Crook. That same year, he portrayed a corrupt lawyer in The Firm, a thriller based on John Grisham's novel. Hackman later appeared in two more films based on Grisham's work, The Chamber and Runaway Jury. Hackman continued choosing diverse and engaging roles, featuring in Wyatt Earp in 1994 and starred in The Quick and the Dead in 1995. That same year, he played a submarine captain in Crimson Tide. His comedic talents resurfaced in Get Shorty, where he played a struggling film producer alongside John Travolta. In 1996, he starred in The Birdcage, taking on the role of a conservative senator. He worked with Hugh Grant in Extreme Measures in 1996 and reunited with Clint Eastwood in Absolute Power in 1997. As the decade neared its end, Hackman appeared in Twilight in 1998 with Paul Newman and lent his voice to the animated film Ants that same year. He then played a government agent in Enemy of the State, a thriller reminiscent of his earlier role in The Conversation. Even as he aged, Hackman's ability to choose compelling projects and deliver powerful performances never wavered. However, Hackman began to show signs of slowing down. Later years, Gene Hackman shared the screen with several notable actors in the early 2000s, taking on a variety of roles that showcased his versatility. In 2000, he appeared in Under Suspicion, a psychological crime thriller that explored complex relationships and hidden secrets. That same year, he co-starred in The Replacements, a lighthearted sports comedy where he played a determined football coach trying to lead a group of underdog players to victory. Hackman continued to work steadily, taking on different characters that highlighted his acting range. In 2001, he worked with Owen Wilson in Behind Enemy Lines, portraying a strict and experienced naval officer who must make critical decisions when a fighter pilot becomes stranded in enemy territory. Around the same time, he appeared in Heartbreakers alongside Sigourney Weaver, playing a wealthy businessman caught in an elaborate con game. That year also saw him take on a role in Heist, a crime thriller written and directed by David Mamet. In this film, he embodied an aging but highly skilled professional thief who, despite his experience, finds himself forced into one last dangerous job. His ability to bring depth and subtlety to his performances allowed him to excel in a variety of genres. Additionally, he made a brief appearance in The Mexican, adding a small but memorable moment to the 2001 film landscape. His next role took him in a completely different direction. He joined the ensemble cast of The Royal Tenenbaums. In the film, he played the head of a highly unconventional family, stepping outside of his usual tough guy persona to portray a deeply flawed yet oddly charming patriarch. This performance earned him the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a motion picture musical or comedy, solidifying his ability to take on comedic roles with just as much skill as his dramatic ones. Hackman continued acting in high-profile projects. In 2003, he appeared in Runaway Jury, an intense legal drama based on a John Grisham novel. This film held special significance for him because it finally gave him the opportunity to share the screen with his longtime friend, Dustin Hoffman. The two had known each other for years, but had never acted together in a film. Their scenes together were especially memorable, as both actors brought decades of experience to their performances, creating a dynamic that added to the film's gripping courtroom tension. The following year, he appeared in Welcome to Mooseport, a comedy where he starred alongside Ray Romano. This marked his final acting role before stepping away from the film industry. While promoting the movie, he was honored with the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the Golden Globe Awards, an honor presented by Michael Caine and Robin Williams in recognition of his decades-long impact on the entertainment industry. He remained gracious during the ceremony, acknowledging the many people he had worked with throughout his career. By 2004, he had already begun stepping back from acting. In an interview with Larry King that year, he spoke candidly about his future, revealing that he had no new film projects planned and strongly believed that his acting career had reached its conclusion. Although fans hoped he might return for one last role, he remained firm in his decision. A few years later, in 2007, he took on a different kind of project, lending his voice as the narrator for 4 episodes of America's Game, The Super Bowl Champions, a sports documentary series. By 2008, while promoting his 3rd novel, he officially confirmed that he had retired from acting. That same year, he made what would be his last televised appearance, coincidentally captured on diners, drive-ins, and dives, when host Guy Fieri visited a Santa Fe diner where Hackman happened to be dining. Reflecting on his decision to retire, he later shared that his choice was influenced by health concerns. In 2009, he recalled undergoing a stress test in New York, where a doctor advised him that his heart was not in the best condition for enduring physically demanding work. Though he had enjoyed a long and fulfilling career, he knew it was time to focus on his well-being. A few years later, in 2011, he was asked if he would ever consider returning to acting. And while he didn't completely rule it out, he humorously suggested that the only way he might participate in another movie would be if it could be filmed entirely in his home, without disturbing his surroundings. However, he briefly stepped out of retirement to narrate 2 documentaries related to the United States Marine Corps, the unknown flag raiser of Iwo Jima, in 2016, and We, the Marines, in 2017. Beyond acting, Hackman explored another passion: writing. Collaborating with undersea archaeologist Daniel Lenihan, he co-authored 3 historical fiction novels. Wake of the Perdido Star, released in 1999, was an adventurous story set in the 19th century that followed a perilous sea voyage. In 2004, he published Justice for None, a gripping Depression-era crime story inspired by a real-life case that had taken place in his hometown of Danville. 4 years later, he released Escape from Andersonville, a dramatic novel about a daring prison escape during the American Civil War. After successfully co-writing these works, he decided to write on his own. His first solo novel, Payback at Morning Peak, was published in 2011 and delved into themes of love and revenge set against the backdrop of the Old West. His final novel, Pursuit, a tense police thriller, followed in 2013, concluding his literary contributions. However, it seems his personal life is just as interesting. Personal life. Gene Hackman married Faye Maltese in 1956, beginning a relationship that would last for 30 years. Together, they had 3 children, a son named Christopher Allen and 2 daughters, Elizabeth Jean and Leslie Ann. During their upbringing, Hackman frequently found himself away from home, deeply involved in the demanding world of filmmaking. The constant travel and long hours on set meant he was often absent, missing key moments in their lives. Despite the years they shared, the marriage eventually ended in 1986. Following his divorce, Hackman found love again with classical pianist Betsy Arakawa. Their relationship developed over 7 years before they officially married on December 1, 1991. Together, they built a life in Santa Fe, New Mexico, settling into a home that beautifully showcased Southwestern architectural influences. This residence, perched atop a vast 12-acre hill, provided breathtaking views that extended to the Yemes, Sangre de Cristo, and Sandia mountain ranges. Architectural Digest took an interest in their home, featuring it in 1990. Hackman remained relatively private in his later years, making only a few public appearances, with the last known sighting occurring at an event in 2008 Santa Fe toward the end of 2022. His political views leaned Democratic, and he openly expressed his pride in being included on President Nixon's enemies list. Yet, despite his political stance, he spoke favorably about Ronald Reagan, the Republican president, reflecting a more diverse perspective on political figures. Beyond acting, Hackman pursued several other passions, one of which was competitive racing. During the late 1970s, he actively participated in Sports Car Club of America events, skillfully handling an open-wheeled Formula Ford. His dedication and enthusiasm for racing resulted in a victory at the 1980 Long Beach Toyota Pro-Chi Celebrity Race. 3 years later, he took on an even greater challenge by competing in the 24 Hours of Daytona Endurance Race, driving for Dan Gurney's Team Toyota. Football was another category that played a role in Hackman's life. A devoted supporter of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he attended games regularly as a guest of Jack Del Rio, the team's former head coach. Their bond stretched back to Del Rio's college football days at the University of Southern California, highlighting a lasting friendship. Hackman's creativity extended beyond film and sports, as he found deep satisfaction in architecture and design. By 1990, he had designed and built 10 homes, 2 of which gained recognition in Architectural Digest. Even as he aged, Hackman remained physically active, continuing to cycle well into his 90s. However, his health faced challenges over the years. In 1990, he underwent an angioplasty. Then, in 2012, while cycling in the Florida Keys, he was struck by a pickup truck. Initially, reports suggested serious head injuries, but his publicist later clarified that his wounds were minor, consisting only of bruises. Hackman's legacy was not only in his performances, but in the lasting impression he left on audiences and the film industry as a whole. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.